Hello, my name is Eric Mays. Welcome to today's webinar where Scott Connors and I will review the 2017-18 legislative proposals that the Football Oversight Committee recommended to the NCAA Division I Council. First, we will examine two proposals pertaining to football preseason practice. Then, we will review additional proposals to address the football bowl season staff sizes and responsibilities model. Finally, we will review a proposal pertaining to the August recruiting dead period. First, let's review the proposed football preseason practice model. In April 2017, the NCAA Division I Council adopted Proposal 2017-2. The adopted proposal prohibited a school from conducting two contact practices in one day. This proposal aligned with the year-round football practice contact for college student-athlete recommendations legislative considerations and became effective with the 2017 preseason. When determining the start of the preseason, current legislation permits a football team to count back 40 practice units from the school's first contest. 1 or 2 practice units are counted per day, depending on the school's first scheduled football contest and the first date of classes. Within the 40 units, a football team is permitted 29 practice opportunities. On May 5, 2017, the Division I Committee for Legislative Relief approved a blanket waiver to permit football teams to begin their preseason practice up to 7 days prior to the legislated calculation. The blanket waiver was approved for the 2017 preseason only. This proposed concept would permit 25 on-field practice opportunities before the first scheduled contest. During the preseason practice period, the football team must be given 1 day off from all athletic activities every 7 days. As a result, preseason practice would start on average 29 days prior to the football team's first scheduled contest. However, up to 2 hours of on-field meetings may be required during the day off. An additional component of this proposal permits the use of footballs during the second non-contact session. Finally, if adopted, all teams will be required to adhere to Countable Athletically Related Activities, or CARA, requirements 7 days prior to the school's first scheduled football contest. In recommending this proposal, the Football Oversight Committee believes it promotes student-athlete health and safety. This is consistent with the year-round football practice contact for college student-athlete recommendations legislative considerations. The proposal also simplifies the calculation for preseason practice and promotes competitive balance by standardizing practice opportunities. If adopted, the legislation will be effective for the 2018 preseason. Continuing with the football preseason practice legislation, the Football Oversight Committee proposed the concept to increase the number of preseason practice participants in FBS. Currently, FBS football teams are permitted 105 participants in preseason practice. If adopted, this proposal would increase the number of preseason practice participants from 105 to 110. In recommending this proposal, the Football Oversight Committee believes additional student-athletes are provided opportunities to acclimate to the team in the summer prior to the first date of classes. In addition, this proposal will provide the institution greater flexibility when managing its roster prior to the first date of classes. If adopted, this proposal will be effective immediately. Now I'll hand things over to Scott, who will go over the remainder of the proposals and the timeline for feedback and voting with NCAA Council.
Thanks, Eric. Before we look at the relevant pieces of the staff size proposals, it's important to take a look at current legislation as it applies to FBS coaching limits. In FBS football, staffs are limited to 1 head coach, 9 assistant coaches, and 4 graduate assistants. On January 9, 2018, FBS football staffs will be permitted to hire a 10th assistant coach. Only the head and assistant coaches are permitted to engage in coaching activities with student-athletes. Further, only countable coaches are allowed to engage in recruiting functions. Recruiting functions are defined as athletics evaluations and/or selection of prospects and making telephone calls to prospects. Currently, any staff member may have on-campus contact with prospects and their families while they are on campus for an official or unofficial visit. Further, any staff member may send private correspondence, like mail and email, to a prospect once he has reached September 1st of his junior year. The proposed concept addresses some concerns the Football Oversight Committee has in the recruiting space. The concept allows schools to designate 30 individuals who may participate in on-campus recruiting activities and prepare and/or send written correspondence. The 30 individuals must include all countable coaches and graduate assistant coaches. The remaining 15 individuals can be designated at the institution's discretion. The 30 individuals must be designated and signed off on by the institution's athletics director. Once this is complete, the list is to be submitted to the conference office prior to the institution's first preseason practice. Lastly, only staff who have passed the annual NCAA recruiting exam may be included in the 30. Continuing with the staff size theme, the Football Oversight Committee also referred concepts intended to promote fairness by addressing activities on game day and at practice. First, the NCAA Football Rules Committee will be asked to consider limiting game day press box access to the head, assistant, and graduate assistant coaches. Other football personnel would no longer be granted access to the press box on game day. The Rules Committee will also be asked to emphasize the access to the team area on game day to be limited to 60 credentialed individuals. This number includes any student managers or student assistant coaches. Finally, the Rules Committee will be asked to limit the number of headsets used during game day to 15, with a maximum of 9 on the sideline and 6 in the press box. Permitting 15 headsets is intended to permit the head coach, each assistant coach, and all graduate assistant coaches to have a headset on game day. The Football Oversight Committee will also refer concepts to the NCAA enforcement staff for consideration. For example, making violations involving non-coaching staff members who engage in coaching activities a point of emphasis. Fair competition is the rationale for these concepts. These concepts focus on the recruiting and coaching duties and the number of individuals who may engage in on-campus recruiting. Further, these concepts reinforce the importance of enforcing existing NCAA legislation and football playing rules. These concepts also allow each institution to decide how to manage their coaching staffs within the established parameters. The proposed effective date of the staff size legislation is August 1st, 2018. The Oversight Committee is interested in the referred items being in effect not later than the start of the 2018 football season. The final Oversight Committee supported proposal we are covering today is intended to address the overlap of the first football games of the season with the August dead period that went into effect in August 2017. Currently, the month of August is a dead period. In July 2017, a blanket waiver was approved to permit campus visits during the last week of August to ensure schools that had home contests during the final week of August would be able to offer official and unofficial visits to prospective student athletes. The proposed legislation is different than the approved blanket waiver in that it would permit institutions with a home contest in August to conduct official and unofficial visits for a period of 48 hours before and 48 hours following their contest. The home competitions must take place on an institution's campus or the facility normally used by the institution as their home facility. The rationale for this change is to provide appropriate opportunities for on-campus recruiting activities in conjunction with a home football contest. If approved, the legislation will become effective on August 1st, 2018. Before we conclude, here's an overview of the next steps for the legislative items in the 2017-18 Council Governance Legislative Cycle. The Football Oversight Committee will meet on January 16th, 2018. The Council will meet the next day as part of the NCAA Convention. The membership comment period started on October 1st and will last through March 1st. From December 4th through the 15th, the Oversight Committee will be collecting feedback from conference offices. If you have not talked on your campus about how your conference will be requesting your feedback, I encourage you to schedule time to talk about these proposals and to provide your feedback to your conference office. Coming out of the January meetings of the Council and the Oversight Committee, these proposals could be amended, and the Council is expected to vote on the proposals during their April 2018 meeting. This concludes our webinar. Thank you for attending. If there are any questions, we are glad to take as many as we can with the time remaining.